Legends of Greek Mythology, the story of Jason and the Golden Fleece, Part 1, The Man with One Sandal. Jason was the son of King Aeson and heir to his father's kingdom of Iolcus. One day, when Jason was a helpless infant in his cradle, a certain strong chief called Peleus came to the palace with a great body of armed men, broke through the gates, entered, and took King Aeson captive. In the midst of all the noise and confusion, Jason's nurse managed to escape with her charge. She ran down a lonely country road and across the marshes to the mountains, to Chiron's cave. Chiron was a centaur. Like all centaurs, he had the body and legs of a horse and the head and shoulders of a man. He lived in a cave, as poor people often did in those days, and he supported himself by keeping a kind of school. His pupils became very expert horsemen and good musicians. By hunting wild beasts in the forests, they learned the use of the spear, the shield, and other implements of war. Chiron's school was a rough, wild school, but it made brave men. When the nurse brought Jason to Chiron's cave, Chiron's wife took the child and cared for him as if he had been her own son, till he was old enough to profit by the centaur's teaching. Meanwhile, Peleus reigned in Iolcus, and the true king, Aeson, languished in prison. But the reign of Peleus, the usurper, was not altogether undisturbed. It was believed among the people that their rightful king would one day be restored to them, and there was a prophecy abroad which warned King Peleus to beware of a man who would one day come down from the mountains wearing only one sandal. When Jason was 20 years old, he was as well-developed and handsome a youth as any in Greece. His long, waving hair fell down on his broad shoulders, and he had the sinewy walk of a young lion. Being old enough now to try his strength, he bade goodbye one day to his good schoolmaster Chiron, threw a leopard skin over his shoulders, took a spear in each hand, and walked gaily down the road to Iolcus, for he meant to win back his kingdom from Peleus. On his way down the mountain, he came to a stream which was badly swollen, and on the bank he saw an old woman who did not dare to cross. He kindly offered to carry her over, and his offer was accepted. He noticed that she looked very small and thin, and thought she would be very light to carry. But when he had fairly entered the stream, he found her very heavy. In his effort to fight against the current, and at the same time to stand up under his burden, he left one of his sandals sticking in the mud at the bottom of the river. But he succeeded in reaching the opposite shore, where he set the little old woman down in safety. Then what was his astonishment to find that he had carried the great goddess Juno across the stream. From this time, Juno was Jason's friend. When he walked into the forum at Iolcus, the people thought a god had come, and wondered whether the stranger were not Apollo or Mars. But King Peleus, remembering the prophecy, gave a quick glance at Jason's feet and saw only one sandal. With much misgiving, he asked the stranger's name. Jason frankly told who he was, and how he had been brought up in Chiron's cave. The news spread quickly through the town, and Jason's kinsmen, the sons of Aeolus, heard it and welcomed him to their houses. After Jason had been in Iolcus for about 5 days, he gathered his kinsmen together and went before the usurper Peleus and the people to present his claim to the throne. Since he and Peleus were kinsmen, he did not think it right that there should be fighting and bloodshed between them. So he consented to give up to Peleus much of the land and many of the flocks and herds which were his by right, but said that he must have the throne and scepter. Peleus showed no anger at this demand of Jason's, but he quickly devised a plan for sending the hero away again. He said that a few nights before Jason's arrival, a very strange dream had come to him in his sleep. In this dream, a voice had commanded him to go to Colchis and bring back the golden fleece of the ram which had carried Phrixus across the sea to Colchis. The story of Phrixus was well known to Jason and to all the people of Iolcus. Many years before this, 2 little children of the race of Aeolus, Phrixus and Helle, who were persecuted by their stepmother, fled away from Iolcus by the help of a ram with a golden fleece. The ram had taken the two children on its back and had swum away across the sea to the kingdom of Colchis. On the way, at a place where the water was very rough, Helle had fallen off and been drowned, but Phrixus had clung tightly to the ram's fleece and arrived safe at Colchis. There the ram was sacrificed to Jupiter. Phrixus gave its beautiful golden fleece to the king of Colchis, who nailed it on a great oak tree in the garden of Mars. All these things had happened so very, very long before this that the people of Iolcus had now almost forgotten that any such children as Phrixus and Helle had ever lived. But they remembered what their fathers had told them about the wonderful golden fleece of the ram, and many of them thought that the fleece should be brought back to Iolcus. After telling his dream, King Peleus went on to say, "I should like nothing better than to obey the voice I heard in my dream, but I am getting to be an old man, far too old for such an enterprise. You, Jason, are young and strong. You had better go in my place. If you succeed in this, and thereby prove yourself able to rule over the people of Iolcus, you shall have your father's crown and throne." The chiefs who were in attendance on Peleus all thought this fair. They said that a young man's courage should be proved, that if Jason were really fit for the throne, he would bring back the fleece. Jason's uncles and cousins said that if he attempted this task, he should not go alone, for they knew of some of the dangers he would have to encounter. Then King Peleus gave orders to the heralds to go into the marketplace with their trumpets and proclaim the expedition, and to call for volunteers who would accompany Jason in his quest of the golden fleece. The call was answered by the bravest young men from all parts of Greece. Some were already celebrated heroes, and more became celebrated in after years. Among them were Castor and Pollux, Hercules, Orpheus, the wonderful poet and musician Meleager, two sons of Boreas, who had purple wings like their father, two sons of Mercury, King Admetus, some of Jason's cousins, and even the son of Peleus himself. The Greek chiefs ordered a ship for the heroes, larger than any ship that had ever been built before. It was to be a galley of 60 oars. As the trees that were to furnish the timber for this great ship were still standing in their mountain forests, there was ample time for the heroes to finish any piece of work that they might have in hand, and to bid goodbye to their friends.